How do you do, Miss Genie Santiago?
I'm good. How are you? You look so gorgeous.
Well,
I can't.
thank
I'm
you.
like, oh, I haven't seen your face in so long. A year.
It had, I think the first time we saw one another face to face may have been Boston Cannabis Week.
That was the first time. Yep. hmm
That was a good time.
Yeah, it was. That was such a good show, and that space is incredible.
That was really fun. I ran the stage that day and I had a ball.
Yeah,
I
you
had a
you were
ball.
killing it.
I was meeting
Anytime.
everybody,
hmm
you
You and
know,
Lisa really did like a really great job. Shout out to Lisa.
Lisa,
Um,
Lisa Finale Fallon, right on.
yeah.
Creative.
I think you were just so like on it, and anything we needed, like you were just there.
Well, thank you. That's my aim. That's my goal. My goal in doing something like that is make sure the artists feel wanted and heard and taken care of, because how many times have you played a gig when you're like the last thought?
Yeah.
That's
And
my
everyone's worrying about the production, especially a festival that was that big, you
hmm
know.
hmm
So,
yeah. You are no stranger to production yourself. You're the founder of, now let me get it right, the Sunflower series.
yeah.
You started that not all that long before we stopped doing shows. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I started that in 2018, December 2018. And I was just in a place in my career where I was like, what am I doing? Where am I going? Like I wanted to grow into myself, and I really wanted to create opportunities for myself and stop waiting for them to
Good
happen,
for you.
you know? And so I felt like I had like a big enough network at the time that I could just put it together. And so I was like, let me not get you know, um, like too excited about it because it might not be anything. And so I only sold 20 tickets. I was like, that's all I'm gonna sell. And they sold out in 2 days, which was
Nice.
like cool. And I also teamed up with a friend, Sway, and we had this tiny little space and a little like PA set up, and it was great. And I was like, this could really be something.
hmm
And then it just started. I was like, I'm going to keep going with this. And so then I featured Jasmine Red, Brandy Blaze, Anais Azul, Eva Sofia. And during the pandemic, I still wanted to keep going with that. And I teamed up with Once Virtual Venue to continue that. But yeah, it's really just a space to create like these intimate bonds between artist and audience. And it was almost like MTV Unplugged. Do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. I want more of that.
And me too. So I feel like that was a way for you to get to know the artist more,
Mhm.
and no, we don't always have that opportunity on stage, especially if you're just starting out like I was.
hmm
You have
hmm
15 minutes, prove yourself, go.
Right, right. Don't
You
be
know what I
nervous.
mean? And now, fortunately, I'm at a point in my career where I'm like, I don't have to do that anymore. You
hmm
know what I mean? People are coming to see me, and that feels really good. And so I
Right.
can talk and I can like choose what shows I want to do.
hmm
And yeah.
How long did it take you as an artist? Well, let me ask you this. When did you first start performing solo?
I always performed, since I was younger, but
hmm
it's mostly like open mics, talent shows, things like that. Like my friends would put shows together and I'd come and do it. But in 2017 is when I really was like, I need to just do this. I can't have one foot in and one foot out. I
hmm
need to just go for it and see what happens. And so I took almost all of my savings and just put it into that, whatever I needed. And it included Experience Creative with Lisa Finelli. I signed with her first. And she really, introduced me to the Boston music scene. And you know what I mean? Like, and then from there, I chose like who I wanted to rock with, who I didn't want to rock with,
Yeah.
what kind of shows I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. And then now I am an independent artist. I manage myself, I book all my shows myself,
Mhm.
and that feels really good too.
How have you been dealing with being shut down for a year?
I was like, I can't stop. I was gaining so much momentum in
hmm
2019. 2020 was booked. My whole year was booked.
Mhm.
I had a Europe tour, a West
What?
Coast tour
I know you
already
told me
booked.
that, but I know you told me that.
Yeah. And so it was like the grief,
Mm.
like, am I ever going to be able to do this? Like, that was my dream, every artist's dream, right? To tour. Like,
hmm
it was my first one. And it was like everything I worked so hard for was just like taken away from me, and but I was like, I can't stop. I have to stay relevant. I have to keep going, and
mm
I just I, like a lot of other people, I navigated this virtual world that we're in,
Mhm.
and it hasn't been easy.
But that's the thing. That's the thing that separates, um, the doers from the wanna doers. That's not really a thing, but I just made it up.
Mhm.
Some people just continue to figure it out. You chart your own path. And I've seen that with a lot of artists like yourself. You're like, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to make this work in another way. And
Mhm.
thankfully we do have um, a platform like the internet, Facebook, etc., where
Definitely.
we're able to do these sorts of things and not be reliant on a public forum the same way. As much as
Yeah.
you want to be doing shows live, you just have to kind of compensate for it.
Mhm. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I've been able to stay relevant not by doing virtual shows, because for me, it's not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
For some artists, like, they really like it. For me, I think it's a little sloppy sometimes.
Hmm.
I think that the sound is not always so great. If I've done it for, like, a charitable cause, to you
Hmm.
know what I mean? It's to raise money for different organizations. Because last year was crazy, this year's crazy. Shit is crazy.
It's crazy, all right. So,
So, definitely for that, but I was like, "If I don't wanna perform virtually, what can I do?"
mhm.
And it was really like releasing new music, learning how to record music on my own, and I'm really fortunate that Mert's at the Bridge Sound and Stage. He's my producer, my engineer, and we were able to communicate like this because I had no idea. I was like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know anything about this world, this like tech world.
Yeah.
And, it really made me a stronger artist. And, he walked me through things. And, I was really excited when the bridge opened up right away. Like, they adapted too. They
Mhm.
knew they had to adapt.
Mhm.
And I was really fortunate to be one of the artists that was invited to come back and record, and so I don't know. I think just having conversations in virtual spaces is what kept me relevant.
Mhm.
And, you know,
Is there one, I mean, certainly we have many inspirations. Is there one constant that has been your standby? Is there one constant inspiration that you go to?
hmm, like what keeps me motivated
Yeah.
during this time? Um, I would say like the climate that we're in right now.
Mhm.
I grew up like a really hard life, like not very privileged at all, actually. And so I'm able to like roll with the punches. I'm able to be a chameleon. Like I'm able to adapt to situations. And so I'm always fighting towards injustices. And I felt like because of the climate that we're in, I had to, you know, fight in that fight.
Mhm.
And I think that's what kept me motivated, that this is bigger than me.
Mhm.
And what is my purpose? Is my purpose just to perform and be an entertainer?
Mhm.
No, my dad asked me, before he passed away, he told me, you have this power of this mic. What are you going to do with it?
That's right.
And so I still had this mic, even though there were stages were taken away. So I was like, I need to push forward. Yes, stay relevant with music, but also like I need to be involved in this activism. And how can I do that virtually?
Mhm. And you
And
did. You did. Did you write Revolucion during the pandemic?
so Revelación actually was written in spring of 2019. And we finished it around December of 2019.
Okay.
Um, and I had this whole other idea for a music video. In the spring, we were gonna shoot this like amazing, like this huge crowd of people, and we were gonna have like a a tribe coming together. And I was like, let's just wait until the pandemic's over, blah blah blah, And then I was like, nah, fuck that. Like this needs to go out now. Like
We
this is
need
the
this
time
message
for
now.
this. Yeah. And so when I released it, I didn't want it to be like I'm profiting off of what's happening, because that's disgusting. It was like, no, 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 this is the time that people need stuff like this. They need to feel empowered. And music has always been there. Music and art has always been there, telling the stories of what's happening to us as the people,
Mhm.
the truth, right? Because textbooks and all that sometimes don't tell the truth. Music and art always tell the truth.
I grew up in White Town.
Hmm.
My textbooks didn't tell me history. They told me the selected history. They didn't tell me
Hmm.
history.
Yeah. But music and art, I think that's where you found voices,
Mhm.
right? That kind of
Mhm.
help you like awaken and have, even if it wasn't fully awakened, like this little voice in the back of your head, like, oh yeah, that shit was happening then, you
Yeah.
know? So that's what I wanted to do. And It wasn't for me, really. It was for my ancestors. It was for people who were being detained. It was for people of color and marginalized voices and people. So, and it was honestly like a call to fight white supremacy.
Mhm.
And that's what I was hoping to do with it.
And the news changes every day, but it's the same constant message.
Yeah.
It's that we haven't come anywhere. People are like, oh, we've come
Hmm.
a long way. Have we? Where? Because
Yeah.
I don't see it, and I know that
Yeah.
everybody around me doesn't see it.
I will say, like, the virtual space, all of us are at home, right? We can't be distracted
Mhm.
by our lives. The things that used to distract us, some of that is no longer there.
Mhm.
And so being online, we were able to like communicate with each other in a different way, which is why I think that this revolution like started last year, because Trump wasn't just in presidency for 2020.
Right.
And this
Right.
shit didn't just start happening, like it's been happening. And so
Mhm.
there was something that had to do with being in this virtual space that really promoted, like, helped the revolution happen.
Mhm.
And kind of like channel the protesting and things like that. People who weren't able to go
Mhm.
are now there. And it was like constantly on Facebook. Like Facebook is where we all get our news. And it was just constantly on Facebook, all this stuff that was happening. And I think people wanted to be a part of that.
Most definitely.
But I think that we also have to be careful, because if we're not out in the streets fighting and we're not out like putting pressure on people, we're only talking to each other in this virtual world.
Mhm.
And so we have
In
to
a
be very
vacuum.
mindful of that.
Mhm. You had a great deal of trouble promoting Revolution when you released it, right?
Oh,
Let's
child.
talk about that.
Ugh. So,
You mentioned Facebook, its pluses and its minuses.
yeah, because it did help. You know what I mean? Um, so, oh my God. I wanted to promote the song, and I felt like I was super dependent on social media during this time. That you couldn't really get down to like the grassroots of promoting music. I felt really restricted. So I ran the promotion on Facebook and Instagram, and right away it was like, we cannot promote this ad because it influences the political election
Hmm.
and references like all this shit. And I was like, really? Like,
You're like, yeah, I know
wow.
it does, but really?
You know what I mean? But then like all this other stuff, this negative stuff was like getting through, this white supremacy stuff and child trafficking and all these different
Mhm.
crazy
Mhm.
stuff is like going through. And I'm like, really? Like, in no way, shape, or form did I mention Trump's name,
That's right.
Bernie Sanders, nobody's name. I didn't mention Biden. Like, I didn't mention anything like that. I didn't say election 2020.
Mhm.
It was based off of like my followers, my activity on Instagram and Facebook, and the wording of the advertisement. And what happens is that Facebook and Instagram, you have two options. You can choose your own audience of who you want to this ad to be
Mhm.
presented to, or you have a targeted audience that they pick for you.
Mhm.
So I chose targeted audience, let them do the work. And that's what happened, is that they saw who I was following, they saw what my activity was, and was like, no, we're not running this.
Mhm.
So it took a long time for me to get it passed. And it took a lot of me kind of fighting these robots,
And that's really what it is. That these strange algorithms that don't even make sense. I've started to get very recently these messages like strike one, if you do this again, you're in trouble. I think I called a pilgrim a white devil or something like that, and someone took offense to it. Okay. But yeah, I got a strike one. And okay, fine, but it's ridiculous.
Mhm.
Because like you said, there are all these other messages that seem to be getting by all of this.
Mhm.
And it's really confounding for all of us.
Yeah. And so, you know, what really helped was Vanya Land.
Hmm.
Um, Victoria was so pissed about it. And I remember we had a phone call and she was like, I really want to write about this. Tell me what's going on. And that really helped a lot. Like, she wrote about it, Revelación, when it first came out. Right when it was released, she wrote about it, a beautiful piece about it. And then when she found out the censorship was happening, she wrote another piece about it, talking about Facebook and censorship and how it's, silencing marginalized voices, these algorithms, these robots that are
Hmm.
supposed to like make us safe and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that really helped. And people were really pissed off by this. And so if anything, like it helped me at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Got
just
some more
showed me
eyes and
like,
ears on it. Yeah.
yeah, and how like supportive community is. And it did great. Like it's almost at 3,000 views, which is for me like the largest I've ever had. And YouTube is really fucking hard
Yeah.
um, to get views and stuff, subscribers. So, I'm really proud of that
Mm-hmm.
I did that. And I didn't do it on my own, right? I'm not going there watching it 3,000 times, but
Do you think Selena Gomez saw it?
oh, this bitch.
I don't mean
Don't
to.
even
I'm laughing with you, not at you.
this like one person wrote on my I wrote about this on Facebook, and one fan wrote, this is not the anything for Selena's that we like acknowledge. And that's like a quote from the movie. It's like anything for Selena's. So yeah, I'm just like, that's the thing. I think people jumped on the bandwagon,
Mm-hmm.
of artivism. And I think that she's one of the people that did that, but I really try to see the good in people. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know her story. I don't know what she's got going on. Maybe she feels safe now being a Latina.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Are you a
Maybe
fan of hers at all?
no, hell no.
No.
Never was, never will be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end of the day, like that works for her. Like she's making money, she's doing her thing. Like has like a ton of followers. I think the most followers on Instagram at one point she did. So I think like for her, if that works, then that works. You know what I mean?
Couldn't it help you somehow though in search engines?
Yeah, I think that if people, if she had copied my song, listen, I have a friend who's a patent lawyer, and she was like, I would quit my job and defend this case. Like that's how much I think you would
Her
win.
record is
Yeah.
the
And
name,
it's
not a
funny because like
song.
I didn't listen to it, but I like sped through the songs a little bit, and it's very poppy,
Mm-hmm.
very like generic Spanish, Latinx reggaeton, stuff like that. Very poppy for me. And I was like, what does this have to do with revelación? What does it have to do with such a powerful word?
Right.
What are you singing about? What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt insulted, but I'm glad that, maybe if somebody Googles it, the real revelación will come up.
I think it could only help you in the long run.
Yeah.
For all these algorithms and etc.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of great music in Boston. I don't know what it is about Boston that people just sleeping on us, but there's so many great artists here, and with powerful messages, who have been doing a lot of work. And
I think it's
people are
getting
watching,
better.
and people are listening.
I think we're raising each other up even more than we have before.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been really one of the best byproducts, if you will, of the quarantine and of what has happened with COVID, that I feel like more people are paying attention to more artists than before.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're able to connect more with people outside of Boston too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Different
Mm-hmm.
artists, different organizations. And that's only going to help us in the end.
Mm-hmm. Your debut record you called Know Your Worth. How long did it take you to feel confident in that phrase?
I don't feel confident in that phrase.
Mm-hmm.
That album, I have mixed feelings about it, that EP.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of people like whispering in my ear. I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was figuring out like what kind of artist I wanted to be. But not just that, what kind of artist I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Know Your Worth for me was coming into healing from sexual abuse and sexual assault, neglect, abandonment as a child, and coming into my own as this powerful like force. And also coming out about my sexuality, and I think that when I say Know Your Worth, that's what it means to me. I'm not really confident in the album itself. It's not my favorite. But I'll never take it off because I feel like it's important to see how I wasn't perfect, and I'm still not perfect. And my ideas from then are not what they are now. But I don't want to be ashamed of that.
But you're going to gauge your growth a lot from the release of that first EP, and as you continue to grow as an artist. So it's a nice barometer for you as an artist, because one day you're going to look back at that and probably feel a little bit differently than you do right now.
Yeah. Hopefully. I'm just really like this new project that I'm working on is so different, and there's so much confidence in there, and you can hear me in there.
But you're a really confident. I've seen you perform, and you're a very confident performer. And maybe that has to do with just you've hit that groove as an artist, maybe, right?
Hmm. I worked really hard to get there, and I even worked with a choreographer. I mean, I'm not on stage doing like dance moves. That's not. I tried doing that when I, first started, but I was like, that's not who I am.
Hmm.
Um, and it helped with like looking at myself in the mirror, which I think a lot of us do to just like do our makeup, do our hair, whatever. But to really look at myself in the mirror, singing my songs and watching myself, I noticed I used to look down a lot. Like my
Hmm.
head was up, but I'd look down while I was singing, and watching myself and telling myself like I deserve to be here,
Yeah.
and I deserve to take up space. And even though I'm not someone who's belting out like Beyonce and Adele and Jasmine Sullivan, like my voice is my own,
Hmm.
and that's okay.
Hmm.
And I'm going to love it, and whatever it's going to do, I'm going to like nurture it.
You are your work is very sensually focused. Is that a fair description?
I think like socio-political in a way that is not just like Revelación is socio-political, and then Spirit Party is also socio-political in a way that it's um talking about sexual freedom and sexual
Mhm.
healing. Um and so I think like we're very privileged, and not in this country, but I think maybe in this country, um where we can express ourselves sexually. You know what I mean? In other parts of the world, like people don't get that, where they're being, you know, um, women are, I don't even want to talk about it, like, having, you know, their genitals mutated, and, being murdered for your sexuality. And that still happens here. I'm not saying that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think we have more of a freedom here. And so in Spirit Party, I wanted to be very gentle with the content of it. It is about masturbation, but it's also the spirituality behind that. And definitely in POC communities, it's not really talked about. Masturbation, self-pleasure is not really talked about, especially in women. And it's something that you're supposed to like be afraid of or be ashamed of or hide. But it's like, this is your body. And how can you give it to somebody else if you know what I mean? If you don't know about it, you can't depend on someone else to give you that pleasure.
That's right.
And so like to stop feeling guilty about
Yeah.
it, and that, you know, when you're masturbating, you're healing your body, and you're saying this
Mhm.
body is my body,
Mhm.
and it's very powerful.
Mhm. I want to talk more about that.
Hmm.
You've seen women claiming their sexuality more and more on very public forums. I remember watching, I don't watch the Super Bowl for various reasons we don't need to get into, but I did watch Jennifer Lopez and Shakira when they performed, and I'm a fan of them because of what they represent to the community and their communities. And I'll be honest with you, I don't put a Shakira record on in the house and listen to it, but I have a great deal of respect for them, and the fact that they got the headlining gig at the Super Bowl and so many people were fucking pissed off. And I'm like, so what is it that two women, a Puerto Rican woman and a Colombian woman, are on the biggest stage and you can't handle it?
Mm.
It was predictable, but also infuriating at the same time.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
um, you see it with Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion when they put out WAP. People lost their fucking minds. Like
Hmm.
these are the only people that have ever sung about sexuality ever.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that how, like, who, man, just leave people alone. you know like, why are you so concerned about what they're doing? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, if you don't like it, then don't rock with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like
There's
there's
still a
bigger
lot of
things
cat
going on in the
policing.
world.
There's a
But
lot of
then
cat
there's
policing. Yeah.
there's a lot, it's very misogynistic, you know what I mean? And I hate that there used to be like there can only be one great female rapper.
Right.
Like, what? But there can be hundreds of like, you know, dope like male MCs, but it's like that, why are you pinning us against each other? You know what I mean? Like, so I think there's room for all of us, and I don't think they're hurting anybody with their music, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's something for everybody. And for me personally, like, I'm not gonna do it like that
Mm-hmm.
because it's just not my personality. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not my thing, but I'll fucking sing it.
Mm-hmm.
You will catch me in the shower singing that, rapping all the lyrics, but wetting up my body.
Mhm. It's just it's fascinating to me because I know what it stems from. It stems from people being horrified that women are owning their sexuality, and God forbid, two Black women want to do it on a stage.
Definitely.
Stop.
And I think that it has a lot to do with race too. And
Absolutely.
um, you know, like they were talking about Dua Lipa at the Grammys, like having her legs up and half naked and nobody saying shit to her, you know, but then you have Cardi B, who's like this really beautiful curvy woman, and then you have Megan Thee Stallion, who's also very beautiful
Mhm.
and outwardly. And so yeah, I think it's a lot. I think it's very misogynistic. I think there is some racism in there. And you know, like I just try to be really gentle with Spirit Party because you should see. But that's the thing, like people will be singing like a, you know, wet ass, you know, pussy.
Mhm.
And but when they hear the word masturbate, like they giggle in the crowd. I'm like, how old are we? And also like that just shows that you're uncomfortable with your own stuff, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be really gentle about the way that I was giving the information
I think
because not
people want to
everybody's
be.
ready.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
they
not
want
everybody's
to be.
ready.
Mhm.
So that they could go home and do what they wanted with that song, you
Mhm.
know. So I'm just trying to like, instead of talking about sexuality as a thing that we're giving to other people, you know what I mean, for sale, like, which is fine. Like, how about it starts with us first?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Being comfortable in our own sexuality before we can give it to somebody
Mhm.
else.
And being allowed to enjoy it.
Yes, because oh my, I grew up with Catholic people and they were like, God is watching you and like all this stuff.
You're
And I
gonna
was
go
like, what?
blind.
I need God not to be watching me during this time. But we are like, I think that, you know, I don't believe in God the way that a lot of other people do, but we are these like beautiful, magnificent, powerful beings. And, you know, our sexuality and our orgasms and all of that is a part of being powerful. And, you know, that's why you reach like that nirvana for that quick second of your orgasm and you're like, whoo. But like I'm trying to teach people that your orgasm can flow through your whole body and that energy can stay there all day. You know what I mean? We're just focusing on the release of out of our genitals, but really it needs to come up to our crowns and just flow in our whole body.
How
And
did you get
so
here? What journey? How did your journey bring you here?
we're
Because
just
you're very
masturbating all the
like
time.
I don't want to say enlightened because that just seems like such a boring word, but you have a wisdom about you that a lot of people
Hmm.
don't. It takes a lot of people a long time to get this kind of wisdom that you have.
I think when I was little, like I suffered a lot of trauma. And I think that when you have this kind of trauma, you're almost like a superhero.
Mhm. Mhm.
You see the world differently, you feel things differently.
Mhm.
You develop like another sense, you know, and I don't want to call it a sixth sense. It's almost like you have the seventh and eighth sense, you know, and I had to grow up really quickly.
Mhm.
And I was so fortunate that I was able to look around me and be like, this is nuts. And the people around me are insane. Like, I don't want to be like this. This is not healthy. They're toxic. I shouldn't have used the word insane. Toxic, very toxic.
Mhm.
And I always believed in magic. Like, I always believed that, like, something magical is going to happen to me. And I just have to wait. You know, like, I'm going to get my Hogwarts letter. I'm going to go to Narnia, you know, and I always use my imagination and to escape. I remember to escape the trauma, I think that I would leave my body and go places,
Mhm.
you know. So I think it's something that I was born with. And I know that my great grandmother and my great great grandmother were both medicine women, Taino medicine women. So I think that that's already within me, this like ability and this affinity with the earth and with spirits and all of that. So I had to like heal a lot of things in my body
Mhm.
because of the trauma also. And that came with a lot of sitting with myself, a lot of meditating, and a lot of reading
Mhm.
and art too, music. expressing myself that way.
Some people go the opposite way that you went, though. Some people
Yeah.
refuse, or as a, obviously as a mechanism to cope, people go the opposite way. They don't
Yeah.
look
They
inward.
self-destruct.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I used to be bulimic. So I would hurt myself that way. I used to, um, get into fights a lot. Like I was a fighter, and I was, really toxic in relationships. And honestly, like when I started counseling, I'm really lucky. When I started counseling, she's actually a shaman too,
Mm.
and a spiritual person, and works with, all these different elements, and is a psychic too. So I was really grateful that I walked into that office,
Mhm.
and it was just meant to be. And
Mhm.
I still go to her, and she's helped bring that out of me too, of
Mm.
how powerful I am. Because she told me, like, you have no idea how powerful you are.
She's right. I mean, I can see it. I can see
Thank
it.
you.
There, you know, I have a long, storied background as well that we don't need to get into, but I've seen that toxicity that you speak of, and I have made, some of those decisions you're probably familiar with, like, am I going to
Hmm.
person in my life because I think I should, or am I going to make a break because I need to be healthier?
Yeah. Hmm.
Hmm.
I know, and I wish that I had an answer for, like, how did I end up this way? I don't know. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, but I'm really every day I'm like, and if I get emotional, literally every night I go to sleep and I'm like, I'm so fucking blessed.
Hmm.
Like, I'm so lucky that I am here. And I look around and I'm like, thank you for my bed, because I know what it feels like to not have one.
Hmm.
Thank you for my books that I'm collecting,
Hmm.
and that I can bring them with me now when I move.
Hmm.
Thank you for my altar. Thank you for this computer.
Yeah,
Thank you for my phone. You know what I mean? These earrings that I was able to buy on Etsy.
they're beautiful.
Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know how I got here, but
What's your
I
s-
just,
do you have a support system? Do you have siblings in your
uh,
you have any sort of relationship with?
there's 7 of us,
Wow.
but unfortunately, like, I don't have quite a relationship with them, because the choices that they've made in their
Hmm.
life
Hmm.
for me,
Hard for you.
yeah, and I couldn't 100% heal if I kept those relationships open. And I still have love for them,
Hmm.
and I do, like, miss them at times, but they made their choices,
Hmm.
and I need to deal with that.
Hmm.
And I don't talk to my mom, who's unfortunately was not really in my life
Hmm.
growing up. We say hi and call her once in a while. My dad passed away. We were really close. Honestly, like, I have really dope friends.
Yeah, you do.
Hmm.
And you have this whole musical family.
I do. My musical family, um, you know, you have to be careful, because not all friendships in this industry are your friends.
Hmm.
Not everybody has your best interests at heart. So I
Hmm.
keep my personal life very to myself and my close friends. My musical friends, like, this is what we're doing. We're doing music. I do have, like, my tribe, like Mert at the bridge, and Algo is my percussionist, and there are people that I rock with, and like, I would say, like, those are my friends.
Hmm.
Um, but a lot of other friendships are based on acquaintances, but there's loyalty in that too.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not going to screw you over because I like you, I rock with you, I think what you're doing is amazing. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to call them up if something triggering happened to me.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I have a really good partner too,
Hmm.
who no, I know probably like, what, she's in a relationship. I keep my relationship very private.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, they're super supportive and so beautiful, and always, like, help me to rise and healthy, and it's a breath of, like, fresh air in a relationship,
Hmm.
you know. So
I like hearing this from you.
thank you.
No, it's I just like to have a conversation about real things, and this is a real thing,
Hmm.
you
We
know.
can't be out here trusting everybody,
Mm-mm.
but
Mm-mm.
at the same time, like, I don't gossip. You'll never hear me talking about this person or that person. Like, my experience with that person will stay to me,
Mm.
and I will not burn that bridge. I just keep it moving. And because for me, it's like nothing that you do can affect me that much.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
If
Because
you
I'm like,
unless you let it, right?
yeah, I keep my personal stuff like to me,
Mhm.
and so like this, what you're getting right now, my counselor calls it an energy condom. I got my condom on,
Uh-huh.
okay? And so like I can feel your energy and we can do this, but I'm not bringing you home with me and I'm not absorbing any of it into like my god body. Like going home at the end of the day, I take my shower, I wipe it all off, and that's it. Because if you let these people like get to you, like that's gonna mess you up. And artists are very fragile people.
It's draining.
Mm-hmm.
You have those, we all know those people that I call them sort of like they're known as like the emotional vampires, or I call them
Yeah,
pig pens. People you can just feel like that toxic energy around them. Can be draining if you let it,
yeah,
you know. We
mm-hmm.
need all the energy we can get to get through this.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Museum of Science.
Ooh, that's like
So,
the best thing that has happened to
so
me.
this is cool. They
Yes.
do something called the subspace sessions. Not easy to say. Museum of Science subspace sessions.
A lot of that.
Surprised I got that out of my mouth without messing it up. There's a virtual event coming up on Thursday, April 8th. Okay, so it's the Museum of Science, first of all. So
Right.
this is, you're not playing with this. So tell me how this came together. And you don't give it all away, but give me an idea of what to expect of your performance.
Okay. I'm gonna have to like go back a little bit.
Okay.
So I saw Still Gold in the planetarium a few years ago. I
They're
think
the
like two.
best. I think they're the best live band in the city.
Hmm. And also Army of Broken Toys.
Oh, well,
They're
yeah.
fly. They
Well, they're
always
close
make
to my
me.
heart too.
Yeah, me too. And so um I saw them at the planetarium and I was really like I thought it was great. The show was great. The images were great. And I remember sitting there and being like, I'm gonna do this. And when
Hmm.
I do this, I'm gonna make it like this immersive ass experience. Like all of this, what we have going on, like visuals have the power to like really take your music to another emotional level. You
Hmm.
can like, even reach out to people who are hearing impaired. Like, you can do a lot with this. So I one day I got an email and I was like, what? What is this? How did you hear about me? And are you really gonna, are we really doing this?
Yeah.
And yeah, James Monroe, shout out to James, like hit me up and was like, we've heard a lot about you. All of these write-ups you received this year, this was last year. And Revelación is great and we want to work with you. And so I texted Edry and I was like, Edry, did you
Hmm.
whisper my name like a little fairy? Did you whisper my name in somebody's ear? And she said that she had mentioned me a long time ago. And so, Edry has done that a few times. And you
Hmm.
know what I like about Edry is that she'll never say like, I helped this person and I did this and da 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 da. Like she genuinely wanted to help me, you know? And I'll forever hold that close to my heart. You can't tell me nothing about Edry. Nobody better not say nothing negative about Edry to me because
You won't hear
I'll
it
go
from
off
me.
on you.
You won't hear it from me.
um, so, and also like, Bunker Buds really helped me too, like through the pandemic. Like
Hmm.
it was entertaining and, when I wasn't feeling great, like I could just open my phone and just be there. So I will not say that, it wasn't just James, like Edry definitely whispered my name. But anyways, so it's going to be very trippy. It's going to be very sexy. It's going to be very emotional and it's going to be very fierce. That's all I can say. And so
Okay. Fair enough.
yeah, like, and you'll be able to see new music too and hear new music from the album that's going to be coming out this year. So I'm really excited. And I have Red Shades came through, Forte came through, and Algo came through for that. So yeah, there's going to be these great visuals behind me and incorporated in my performance that I helped create. So I'm really excited.
They say it's an 18 plus event, an 18 plus streaming event. So
Because you know me.
that must mean something's gonna happen.
I think it's because my music too is not for like it's not family friendly, and I don't like to do things. I won't do things that force me to censor,
Hmm.
my music. And so, uh, there is a song called Magic Medicine on there, and I mean a poem called Magic Medicine, and a song called Psych on there. So you want to do the the math on that one. And
Mm-hmm.
also we're talking about masturbation, and we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about white supremacy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
I
guess
look
that's why it's
forward to
18
it.
plus.
Thursday, April 8th, 7:30. Virtual tickets will be available. They're not on sale yet. I don't think.
So they are, if you go, and it's a little confusing. If you go on the site, there's a bottom that says 7:30. Click that 7:30 and it'll ask you how many tickets you want. And tickets are limited for this show, even though it's a virtual event, they are limited. And so then you'll get a link to watch it live on YouTube.
Right.
Well, not live, right? But it is like I already recorded the session,
Mhm.
but you'll be able to see it. So I'm excited for it. And I really hope that when they open up the planetarium again, that I really get to like do what I wanted to do when I sat in there for that Still Gold show. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do in here.
Have you daydreamed about, aside from the shows you want to perform, have you daydreamed about the shows you want to go to when we feel like we are not burdened with this ever-present pandemic and we can actually start to
Yeah.
live life again?
I was really looking forward to seeing Sampa the Great, who is a rapper and also healer. Like I really wanted to see her when she was going to come to the Sinclair.
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing. I can't remember. I'm like, what shows did I want to see last year that were canceled? And that was one of them. And my dream is to see Janae Aiko too.
Mhm.
I really like her. But I'm just excited to see like all my favorite Boston artists too. Like I'm excited to just go to a show and to like
See
see what
faces.
everybody's doing and hug people and you know really like support each other musically.
Mhm.
You know what
I
I
was
mean? Like
way too excited when I learned that the rest of the public in Massachusetts was approved to get the vaccine. I was like really more excited than I ever thought I would be about getting a shot.
I know if you had asked me last year, I would have said no, I'm not getting that. Like screw the government. They've hurt my people enough with their vaccines and their medical practices. Um, even today, still doing their bullshit. And then now I'm like, I do want I've made the choice. Like I am going to get vaccinated because I feel like if this is life, I'm not really feeling it. You know, I'm not someone that's meant to be closed in. Um, and so like for me, I'd rather have quantity over quality. I'd rather have quality over quantity.
Mhm.
And so like if this is gonna like kill me in 10 years, I would rather that than to live in this fear and not touch the people I love and be on stages and do shows. I want to do as much as I can in that time
Mhm.
than to be stuck like this inside, constantly having this fear. I can't even hug my friend because I'm afraid I'm gonna get sick. And I'll be okay, but I might give it to this person who won't be okay.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'm at. Like I just want to see people's beautiful faces. And when I see my friends, I don't be like, hey, and be nervous that they're coming next to me. Or when a friend asks me for a ride, I'm like, I can't.
Mhm.
So that's what I want. I just want to be on stage again, but I won't get on a stage until I'm vaccinated.
Mhm. And I know that there are a fair amount of actual real in-person dates being announced now. I know I saw something came up in my Facebook page about like a House of Blues date or something like that. And I'm thinking, A, the House of Blues isn't my favorite place to go. But
Same.
second of all, I'm not really sure I'm comfortable with the prospect of even in like November. Because let's face it, a year ago right now, we were like, well, everything's gonna be okay by the summer. Wow, boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that, in the summer, like outdoor shows, like that's okay, you know what I mean? But you have to be very careful about that. And
Mm.
you need to make sure that the musicians feel safe also, that you're not sharing mics, that you're not, you know what I mean? Like when you're singing or opening your mouth, you are so vulnerable to germs and like all of that getting in there.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
I'm going back and forth with like, do I want to do a sunflower show in June?
Yeah.
What does that look like? And I'm just like, I don't know.
I think we're gonna have to wait it out. I think
I
most
don't know.
people are on the same page as let's wait it out and see. I feel more optimistic right now that we're on the other side of it. But again, what do I know? What do I know?
Yeah. And I think people need to stop thinking that the vaccination is a cure. It's not.
Oh,
It's
right.
just to help you fight when you get sick,
That's
it's
right.
to help you fight it off.
That's right.
So I'm gonna say that one more time. The vaccination is not a cure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
How
I don't know.
how is the process of the next release coming along?
It's good. I'm almost done. I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's.
Excellent.
Just trying to how can I release this anticipating that we won't be able to meet in person? Because
Mm-hmm.
I do want to do a release. Mertz and I worked so hard on this album and it deserves that. So just thinking about like, what does that look like? And just planning the release for it. Not necessarily the album, because like we did the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like, now what do we do with this?
Do you have a time frame in mind? Will you do it in 2021, or do you think you'll wait?
I do want it to come out this year. But I think that I can't do it in a conventional way. I can't do it the way I was doing it before.
Mm-hmm.
Because it deserves so much love, and I deserve to get paid because I put thousands of dollars into this, and I'm not a billionaire by any means.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is why some people are like, why have you been working on that for a while? I'm like, yeah, because I got bills to pay. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, my extra money and all of that, like I have to save for the studio. I have to save for that. So a lot of money goes into this. And sometimes those grants don't come through. So I do want to release it, but I don't think it's going to be in a way that I did it before. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to be more,
You froze for a second. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just saying that I think I'm thinking more visually, what can we do with this piece of art?
Right.
Instead
So
of audio.
how are you feeling about, doing some more video?
Yeah, I think that we're definitely I don't reveal too much,
Okay.
but yeah, no, there will be some music videos. There will be a lot of content coming out in terms of like how this album is going to be perceived. And I will not have it available on Spotify for a long time. So if you want it, you're going to have to buy it.
I'm not really, and I'm not going to say I'm outspoken about it, because that makes me, appear to be some sort of whatever. But I'm not a Spotify fan. I don't listen to Spotify. Like, I don't use it regularly in my world. I use it for podcasting because it's
Me too.
a good podcasting. Anybody who does podcasting is stupid not to put it on podcasting platforms. And there's no money involved, right? Nobody gets paid for podcast plays. But I always ask artists, I'm like, when you send me music, please send downloads or a download link from Bandcamp. And I continue to get Spotify, and I understand that a lot of artists think it's important for whatever reason, and I can't fault them for that, because
I think just for visibility.
I need to be, I need to exist here, but they're not. There's no real benefit, and I think a lot of artists are like, yeah, we know, but so I can't fault them for that.
Yeah. I think that for visibility, it's really important. And I think having some music on there is really a good idea. If you release a single, sure, put it on there. If you're releasing a whole album, maybe put one or two songs on there. You know what I mean? And the rest, if they want to listen to it, they need to go to Bandcamp or they need to buy the vinyl. So I think that before I release this as like something that's just out here free streaming, you know, I just got to get creative with this, and I deserve to make some money.
Yeah. I mean, strategize that, and it's the best way to go.
You know who taught me that? Edry. Teaching me that you deserve to make money. And yeah, and like focus on yes. Yeah, because I put a lot into this, and my album deserves to be listened to, and it deserves, I think that is going to help a lot of people.
What are you calling it? Did I ask you the title of it?
Inner Space. And it's definitely a journey that is in 3 parts. There's the healing. Well, there's the awakening, right? And then you're revisiting this trauma. And then there's like the healing at the end. You know what I mean? And I think that that's how life is. And it keeps going in those things. You're always going to be triggered. You're always going to be experiencing some type of sadness. Nothing is constant. And so at least there's always going to be, I know it sounds like corny, but like there's always going to be something like music or art that's going to get you through that. A book, because I consider literature art too. That'll get you through that. And I hope that this album does that for somebody, because it's doing it for me.
And isn't it Isn't it interesting how the whole shift took place as soon as we were all forced to stay home and start consuming art in a different way,
Mhm.
or we were forced to stay home and not consume art in the way we had been, how the focus on it shifted. So now, I mean, listening to music is more important than it ever was for you before,
Mhm.
or watching movies and documentaries is more important than it ever was to you
Yeah.
before, or reading those books is more important to you than it ever was before.
Mhm.
I hope people remember this when we have some
Me
semblance
too.
of normalcy. Remember what got you through?
Yeah. I was thinking about that today, like how I am gonna miss some parts of it,
Mm,
like not having anything to do. You
mhm,
know what I mean? Like I am gonna miss that, and I hope that I am able to say no to events,
mhm.
say no to things because I was running low, you know,
Yeah.
on fuel and not taking a lot of time for self-care. And Red Shades is always telling me like, no, like I need to like put myself first. And you know, I always remember what she like her telling me that. And
Didn't Red
so
Shades just get engaged?
yeah, shout out to
Oh,
her and Steph.
yeah, right on.
Um, but you know, I definitely bought more vinyl during this time because you know, Mo Pope actually said that to me once, like, you know, how albums used to be like created to listen to from beginning to end, you
Mhm,
know, and there's an art in that. You know, you didn't have to, you weren't, if you were going to skip, like, you know, it's hard to skip on records. It is. And so unless you can like see the lines, you're like, oh, yeah, let me put it right there. But I don't know, like, I listened to a lot of vinyl and also like not being distracted forced me to deal with some stuff that didn't even know was there, just
mhm,
sitting there in the shadows waiting to come out. And so,
mhm,
you know, I wasn't doing great, you know, when it first started. I was like definitely suppressing some stuff. And I think for a lot of people, it forced us to sit with ourselves,
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
deal with it.
Yeah, and those of us, like I said when we started this conversation, there's the people who do and there are people who want to do. And we figured it out.
Hmm.
You know, some of those people still want to do, and I can't pick on them for that, and they don't really know how to get started. But you know, just watch us. Copy what
Yeah.
we're doing,
Hmm.
you know?
And also like it, you know, I never am shady or stingy with my resources. Like, want to know how I'm doing it? Like, I'm happy to share that with you. Because what's for me is for me. And if I'm sharing with you, it doesn't mean less for me.
Mhm.
You know, that's just good karma coming
Not
back to me.
pie.
Like, I'm good. It's not for everybody.
Right. Right.
And if that opportunity is not for me, it was not going to be for me, whether I gave it to you or not,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And so, like, honestly, though, like, you know, journalists and interviews like this, shining a light on us that we really miss, has really kept us like relevant and has kept us, you know, looking forward to things. And, you know, I'm really grateful for this space. And, you know, all the people who wrote about me last year, I wouldn't have been able to exist the way I do without it, you know? So I can't say that it's all me. Like, I think that journalism and support in Boston, journalism support in Boston definitely got better in 2020.
Hmm. I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
Hmm.
So yeah, and I feel like people who weren't really writing about local stuff did start writing about it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm really
We're,
grateful for
we're always what I do. I mean, I've made my living for a long time in radio, and
that.
main focus of that has been wanting to know what the people in my own city are doing. And I want to know
Hmm.
more about what the people in my own city are doing. And I want to know
Yeah.
more about more of the people in my own city and what they're.
Yeah. I was talking to James from the Museum of Science about that. I was like, so how did you hear about me? And like, how did you all of this? And he said that Edry did mention me like a long time ago when he wanted to do live shows. And he's like, he kept waiting, you know, seeing when the pandemic was going to be over. Then he was like, we just got to move forward, like virtually. Um, and then reached out to everybody. But he had said that he doesn't really go by word of mouth that much. He goes by what people are doing in the city, who's being written about, you know what I mean? Also like, um, you know, what is the music? What is the content that you're putting out? You know what I mean? So I think a lot of that is important. You know, it's not always who you know, but it's also like, well, how much work are you putting in out here?
I agree. I agree. It's if somebody puts a little work into it, somebody makes a little effort, I'll give them a chance.
Yeah.
You know, not everything is fantastic first
Hmm.
time. You know, not everything's a home run, as I like to say.
Yeah.
But eventually, if you keep working at it, you know, and you're earnest and your heart's in it, it's gonna come through.
Yeah.
It
I was
is.
really afraid of being an independent artist. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm doing so much better on my own. Like I'm doing more for myself than anybody because I know what I need.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And, you know, it's like, no one's gonna go for hard as hard for you as you. Like no
That's
one's
right.
gonna hustle that hard. Like I'm gonna do it.
That's
And
right.
and not for nothing, like no one's gonna get me paid the way I deserve to get paid for a show, but me. I'm gonna say this is how much I want to get
Mhm.
paid. And I'm not gonna be like shortchanged. Like we're not doing that. And that has happened to me before, where I found out later on that this artist got paid more than I did, and I'm doing like so much work. And that's not okay. You know what I mean? And now I'm independent and I'm like, that's not gonna happen to me again.
Right.
You know, and so I don't rock with people that do things like that. I don't do shows for people that are going to do things like that, you know, and it's hard, you know, but like you just have to keep hustling and be kind to the people around you, you
Hmm.
know, and be smart.
Hmm. Well, I wish you much love going forward. You have the luck.
Thank
You have the motivation and the capability and the capacity. Um,
you.
I look forward to 2021 being, I don't want to say normal because I don't feel like we'll ever have normal again.
No.
I look forward to 2021 bringing us a whole new kind of community, the way we didn't have it before, the way we needed it before.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what I hope for. I mean, we have that,
Genuine, genuine, selfless community.
yeah, we have that question of, you know, what venues are going to be reopening.
Because your girl can't sell out the Sinclair or the Oberon, so not there yet. So I need these spaces that were selfless and really focused on like uplifting artists. And I don't know, maybe one day I'm gonna have that space. That's all I'm gonna say.
That'd be good.
But you know,
That'd be good. Well,
um,
it was really great to see you,
yes,
even
thank you.
format.
But
Um,
Angela, I want to say one more thing to you. I remember when I went and I talked on your panel in last February, I think it was
mhm.
the panel you had at the Jungle. And I remember the one thing that I focused on was like the you said cross pollination, because I was like, I really want to like intertwine genres, you know what I mean? And you were like, yeah, cross pollination. I was like, I like that, you know. Um, and so I definitely felt that in 2020, that like I feel like the rock community and folk community has really been embracing R&B and hip hop. And, you know, I'm really happy that we're in this space that we can share spaces, you know, because our experiences are all the same and we all love music and we love art. So why can't we share space and shine light on each other?
We're not a real community unless we're including all the communities.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've been guilty of just staying in my little rock box for a long time, but I don't need to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not beholden to some radio company where I'm expected to do a certain
Mm-hmm.
thing. And there's a great beauty in that freedom.
Yeah, that's dope. I'm happy that you have that and
Mhm.
that you're sharing space with all of us, you know what I mean? And you know, I love all kinds of music and the thing is like you'll find all kinds of music in all kinds of music,
That's
you
right.
know. So
That's
we're
right.
all inspired by somebody. So
Who I'm gonna close with this question.
mhm.
Who inspires you right now?
I would say a lot Janae Aiko, definitely. I think where she's going with her healing and her R&B music and getting in touch with her ancestral stuff, like that's really dope. And I love that we can mix R&B and hip hop with ancestral music.
Mhm.
And that could be really powerful because, you know, music has the power of healing and speaking for people.
I
So
think it's really one of the only things that reaches everyone in a way.
those goosebumps you get, or that like, oh yes, I felt that. I needed those words. I didn't have those words and now I do,
Mhm.
you know. So it gives voices.
Mhm.
So
it's wonderful to have you here. Thank
thank
you
you,
for making
Angel.
time.
Thank you. You too. Peace and love to you and many blessings.
You as well. Thank you for your wisdom.
Thank you. I
You got a
tried.
lot of it.
Thank you.
We're going to share your video that was released in November 2020. Did I get the date right?
Mhm.
You say it much better than I do.
That's okay. I appreciate you for saying it.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I can't wait for what's going to happen at the MFA. I'm sorry, Museum of Science.
You said MFA. That's going to happen for me.
I'm putting it out into the world.
It is, because I've been putting it out there too, MFA. You need to book me. We got some things to do.
That's next. And when that happens, we're going to talk about how we put it out into the ether tonight.
Yes. I just need one more person to put it out there, and then that's in threes.
All right.
Somebody say it out loud.
Well, love to you, and I hope to see you in person soon.
You too. I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Using our bodies over minds, exploiting our lives. But really we're revolutionaries. Our blood spilled on this earth as sacrifice for missionaries. The peaceful Taino, a race colonized and raped, mutated indigenous African Spaniard hate. Little did they know, created a master race filled with strength, spirit and grace. They wanna build a wall, have us work this land, clean their homes, raise their kids while they dream and plan. But now we're speaking in government office with teachers, doctors, artists, mothers and fathers. In touch with our roots, police, please don't shoot. We're not the enemy, exist, thrive in harmony. Instead they want us down, but gods and goddesses, they fear us, they hear us, we're standing proud. Revelación, revelations, revelación, revelations, revelación, revelations, 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 revelación, revelations, revelación, revelations, revelación, revelations, revelations.
Revelación, consentimiento, porque lo siento condenado en este momento, no me arrepiento. Pongo a pensar en el pasado, los movimientos que fueron raros nos enseñaron a ser sirviento, todo es un secreto y nada es claro. Y por supuesto quieren dejarnos como esclavos, nunca despierto nos enseñaron, fueron los magos. Y sin embargo somos los dioses, estamos en cargo.
Nuestro futuro lo tenemos en manos, somos divinas femeninas, no me importa lo que opinan, traemos la disciplina, viviendo en armonía. Estrellas y las plantas, naturalezas, poesías. Fíjate el daño que hacen las policías, políticos, pastores, robándonos todos los días, haciéndonos pensar que es favores bien sorprendidas. Creemos en ladrones, historia repetida. Revelación, revelations, revelación, revelations, revelación, revelations, 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 revelación, revelations, revelación, revelations, revelación, revelations, revelations.
Third eyes wide shut, everything's looking indigo. Textbooks lying with the stories about them Indios. Funny what's been rewritten to benefit agendas. Pretend to state the facts when you're giving them lectures. Let's enter the truth, in fact, let's bring it front and center. So there's no second guessing, next generation can fend for becoming professors, astronauts, and even inventors. Generational wealth handed down, become investors. The truth, we gotta protect it, we're all affected. The shift is turning, man is sharper, next is coexistence. The kids are smarter, teach them not to harbor fear and hate. How to meditate, look within for answers, how to acclimate. Previously they try to divide us and segregate. History is bound to repeat if we sit and wait. Classism is racism, now they manipulate. Through the image on the TV, save the human race.